Do you think that the Indians lived better long time ago before they become modernized in the degree they are today?
Oh yeah, that's called the Indian. He lived in paradise. That's called the Indians here. Everything grew here. Like the white man calls it roots now. Roots. Well, I guess they were roots because they grew out of the ground. There were carrots, potatoes, onion, plant like an onion. It had layers all around it. And a whole lot of other plants, you know, the Indian used to gather up and bake. They take it down the river where there's a big jam and a lot of wood. Then they bake all this stuff all together. And they had one little plant that looked like a carrot, but it was very little. It was short black, it was black. And it was sweet, very sweet. And they sweetened all these other roots, you know, that they baked. That one carrot would sweeten all the other fruits, like cabbage. And the sunflower, root of the sunflower. They cooked that. That made nice eating and everything. And game, grouse, pheasant, all kinds of birds, you know, on the trees. You could hear them. They just ring in the woods, the grouse. They're called grouse. They ring the woods. There were so many of them around on the trees there. And the Indian had plenty bird to eat and plenty game like deer, you know, and beaver and bear and all that. There was plenty of everything, yeah. I think the Nisqually Indian, yeah, was living the perfect life, and he didn't have to cultivate this stuff. They grow them. Mother Nature made them grow every year. No getting what you call the mixed things grow like the white man's got to the fertilizer. Nobody fertilized all that stuff. It just come up itself every year. Why these Indians were living in paradise, that's what I always said, before white man came. Then the white man come with a lot of sheep. Unload them right here at Sigualichu down here, just around the bend here. The sheep loads of sheep to unload off the ship and run them. This was all open country. The whole country from Chehalis down here up to the Caleb Valley. On top of the hill there, it was all open.
What happened when they brought the sheep in?
Well, the sheep just went out and grazed and ate all the grass there was, you know, see.
Destroyed the roots that you used to gather?
Yeah, the old Indians said they left nothing, the sheep did.
No more wild carrots, onions, or potatoes?
No more, yeah, no more. The Indian never... He had to live like the white man now, buy flour, buy coffee and like that, you know. Learn to bake bread and all like that.
The Indian people, the young Indians today are caught between two cultures. The white man is pulling the Indian people into their culture, but the Indians have always been brought up to be Indians, you know. They've lived the Indian way all their lives, and they're caught between these two, and I feel that the Indians are really mixed up, you know, because the only way they can make it in this society is to be a white man, but they can't. You know, the young Indians today are realizing that this society is sick and that they don't want to have any part of it. I mean, you know, like they know that, like during Geronimo's days and during Crazy Horse's days, that the white man killed our people. And they're doing the same thing here today. They're killing our people. Something that the white man will never have. They have a culture that they could be proud of, that they should be proud of.
Allison Bridges was one of the organizers of a weekly dance in Tacoma.
Hey! That means there's an end coming. They have all kinds of endings. You have to learn the song to get those. The middle, the three loud beats you heard is generally the middle. It's sometimes different, like 4 loud beats or something, Afghan style.
Not long ago, people believed the Indians were a vanishing race, but the Indians are not dying out. More and more young Indians are trying to learn about their culture and traditions. That doesn't mean just dancing and handicraft. It means returning to a way of life in harmony with the land and each other. It means helping Indian brothers and sisters who have fallen in despair in the cities.
Well, why don't you tell us? Why don't you just say in your own words what you have in mind here?
Senator, we'd like to be able to read it to you.
How long is it going to take?
It won't take too long, Senator. Dear Senator Jackson, Kanachitapi Indian Council is submitting a proposal to obtain the United States Army land and buildings at Fort Lawton for use as a multi-service center and a cultural, vocational, and higher education center for all American Indian and Alaska Natives. Statistics recently published by the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare indicate that there are over 3,000 Indian families in Greater Seattle, amounting to approximately 12,000 persons. The vast majority are at or below a poverty level of $1,200 per year. The educational level is a 7th grade average. Basically, we propose to use the 16 immediately available buildings and the surrounding area to contain our existing services and provide adequate space to help Indians and Alaska Natives solve these problems. We would point out that several of these programs are already funded and in operation, but are seriously limited due to inadequate physical facilities. We believe the time has now arrived for the Indian to use his own initiative, take charge of his own destiny, and at the same time help him make a contribution to greater society.
Now, the law provides that after the military services have given their requirements, then the proposal is circulated among all federal agencies as to their needs. And they have, I think, 60, how many days is it?
Normally 30 days.
30 days in which to make the request. So you will have to go through the Department of Interior as to pure Indian matters, HUD on the housing and OEO and so on.
Funding and so forth.
So I can only emphasize very strongly the need to, follow the law on that, because otherwise you wouldn't be eligible.
We're going to do it
we're going to look around and try to,
over.
and we'll have a better picture of it, and we'll carefully consider all of this.
He wasn't even paying attention. Well, that's how they all are. Said, well, I'm too busy. I got things to do. I got to do this, And you should have an alternative. Tell the cat that we got to know in a week, because Indian children are dying today. There's people starving that are leaning up against the fence tonight sleeping. Maybe some of these ideas that you say should have been expounded. I'm sorry I didn't think about it. What I'm saying is, and if it takes to occupy the place to show the man that we really need it now, then we're going to have to do it.
Tomorrow, we shall leave this hand to reclaim part of our own land that has been taken away from us, that has been paid for.
A war dance was held. The plan to occupy the surplus land at Fort Lawton was announced. The next morning, Indians stormed the fort from every direction. Some climbed fences, some came up the cliffs from the beach, some rushed through the gates. The army closed in on scattered groups of Indians. Women were knocked to the ground. Men were clubbed. Cameras were smashed. Movie film and tapes were destroyed. 64 people, the youngest of them 3 years old, were held all day in 2 cells. After most of them had been released, a dozen military men fell on those remaining and beat them in their cells. The Indians tried to tell their story, but the army denied everything. Next week, the Indians came again, this time in one group, silently climbing the cliffs in the dark of night, waiting just under the edge of the bluff until the first light of morning.
Where's he at? Alpha 1, if you read me, listen. We are in position. We are on the Fort Lock Indian Reservation. We have erected a teepee. About 50 of us are waiting for the estimates to arrive. There they come. Try the council here, all council people over here. Hey, guys. Now try to head anything off. I think we ought to send a couple, 3 people down here under flag of truce. Let them know that this is a peaceful, non-violent settlement. And we don't want to interfere with the military operation. Let's have a flag of truce. Who's got a handkerchief?
I did. Put it on the walkie-talkie. No, we might as well have it.
Yeah.
You don't be on the roof.
The other one. I used to see this in the movies and laugh like
He said that, man, we can't stay here.
We were informed that they had 35,000 troops at his disposal, and he will call them if necessary.
A few, including the movie cameraman, fled back down the cliff, pursued by MPs. The others waited, allowing themselves to be taken away without resisting. Federal trespassing charges were filed against them. The Indians were defeated once again by the U.S. Army. Young Sugar Frank spent his first day in jail, and his family knew that there would be more times, many more times for all of them, and that they would go on fighting because they saw more and more Indian people coming together. In victory and defeat, they were being united. And then, the cruelest blow of all for this family, which had suffered so much before. One day, Valerie Bridges came home, hot and tired from working in the strawberry fields. She went to bathe and swim in the Nisqually River. Much later, her family missed her and began to search. It may have been a sudden cramp. No one is sure, but they found her body at the bottom of the river.
There's no goodbye. There is no goodbye. May our trails cross many times as we travel toward the setting sun of life. And when we meet, may they flow through my hand as I gently touch your arm. Happiness in seeing you again.
Soon people began to arrive. Indians from Canada, Oregon, Idaho. Indians from Alcatraz, many relatives. And many people who knew her in the struggle for Indian rights. Indians came together from all over the West because they had always come together at times of need and sorrow. We returned Valerie's body to the earth, and then we shared a feast in her honor to remind ourselves that we would be together again. And in their suffering, the family at Frank's Landing was reminded that the Indian people still had a strength and unity unlike anything the white man had. They vowed to continue in the struggle to which Valerie had given all of her short life.
Valerie, you heard when your grandfather told of white men who came with promises of gold, saying, sell us the land that lies under the sun. You'll live free as long as the rivers run, as long as the rivers run. Can we sell the mountains? Can we sell the sky? Can we sell the graves where our fathers lie? Can we sell our mother, sell the earth, sell the sea? Just let us live by the river and fish and be free.
Indian people everywhere are beginning to look back for the strength and wisdom that was theirs long before the white man came with his promises. From many tribes and nations, people are traveling around the country, sharing knowledge of their Indian teachings and news of their struggle for Indian rights. Some of the people who came to Frank's Landing stayed to help. Everybody decided to join in a united stand on the Puyallup River. The Puyallup Tribal Council had discovered a tiny piece of land in Tacoma between the railroad tracks and the sewage treatment plant that had never been sold and was still Puyallup Reservation. Here they set up a camp and announced that they were going to fish and protect their nets with armed guards.
The Indian people are beginning to realize that there's nobody going to stand up and fight for them, that we've got to do it ourselves, and we're realizing this.
They're starting to realize, that they shouldn't go in the army and everything else.
Sid and Suzette Mills went to live in the Puyallup camp.
It's going to take, for Indian people to get away from the United States. And be a sovereign nation like they're supposed to be. It's going to take everyone to get together as one. The camp was set up, because the pigs came down there and beat up Indian people, for fishing and just for being there. And so we had to, protect ourselves. So we got our own police force, or, security guard, or whatever you want to call it, to protect the kids and the women and even the men, that are in the camp from being harassed by the pigs. And, they're protecting our equipment like, we stated we was going to do. And, they came down with about 500 pigs and started riding.
He promised us gold, he promised us grain, he promised us houses safe from the rain. He said that his words could not be undone, but would last for as long as the rivers run, as long as the rivers run. No one owns the mountains, no one owns the sky, no one owns the graves where our fathers lie. No one owns our mother, who is the earth, who is the sea. We want to live by the river and fish and be free. Leshai said no, he was caught, he was hung. The treaty was made, nothing else could be done. We said, we'll keep our promises if you keep just one. Let us fish for as long as the rivers run, as long as the rivers run. Where now are your promises? You have stolen our homes. You display in museums our ancestors' bones. We're not afraid of your guns or the words that you say. We just want to fish by the river and live our own way. are stronger than us, with their courts and their jails. But the strength of the earth and the sky never fails. We've the power of the river, the light of the sun, and we'll live for as long as the rivers run, as long as the rivers run. From the oceans of ice to the deserts of sand, our people are gathering to rescue the land. Valerie, we promise, the fight's just begun, and will last for as long as the rivers run, as long as the rivers run.
Years of struggle, beatings, jails, thousands of dollars to bail's bondsmen. And at the end of 1970, what was there to show for it? Actually, the Indians had made a couple of steps forward. They were winning a few cases in court. The state was finding it harder and harder to defend its policy of complete prohibition of net fishing on rivers. So the Fishery Department opened temporary Indian fishing season. Puyallup, Nisqually, Muckleshoot, and Skokomish began to haul in record catches of silver salmon. But the fish buyers dropped their prices to as low as 10 cents a pound. Once again, the Indians found it necessary to get together. At Frank's Landing, they began buying fish from Indian fishermen at 40 cents a pound. Young Indians, some of whom had first got together on Alcatraz and had just been released on bond from the Tacoma jail, were now putting in long hours of cleaning and packing fish. Several tons were shipped to New York, Florida, San Francisco, where they could bring up to $1 a pound.
The Indian people here will, they'll be continuing on in the struggle until they do have their, undisputed right, to fish for a livelihood.
We have the Puyallup encampment on the Puyallup Indian Reservation, and we have the state of Washington coming in and dragging Indian people off Indian land and throwing them in jail for 3 or 4 days with these ridiculously high bails. And, the Indian people get this in their head. And, like it's in my head that there's nobody going to stand up and fight for us. There's nobody we can look to but ourselves. And like we set up this fish processing project. We buy fish from nearby Indians right here on Frank's Landing. And this is to eliminate the middleman, to eliminate that other way of killing us by dropping the fish price when the fish are coming in the hardest, And like we're trying to buy them on a level where the Indian people can support themselves. Just like, very soon the steelhead are going to be running in this river. And we're still going to be here fishing as we've always been, like we've been in the past centuries. I have a son that's going to keep on fishing even after I'm gone because he's a fisherman. It's his heritage. We're just going to keep on fighting for as long as it takes.
Once I was wild as the eagle in the sky, free to love and to live and to die. I roam this land from the mountains to the sea, brother to the elk, the bear and the deer. Up the rivers, the lakes and the redwood tree, this was my land as far as I could see. I had no jails nor prison farm, no barbed wire to do me harm. I paid no one to rule over me, no one unknown the shade of the tree. I swam the ocean with the mighty shark, played with the dolphin when the moon was dark. Come be as wild as the eagle in the sky, free to love and to live and to die. We'll roam this land from the mountains to the sea, brother to the elk, the bear and the deer. Up the rivers, the lakes and the redwood tree, we'll live together in harmony. Ah, ah, ah. Love